perfect students. English with the perfect tutor. Okay, so we are looking at another important topic, another major topic in English, which is speech writing. So speech comes in paper 1, section B of your examination, your final examination. So it is compulsory and it carries 20 marks when it comes. Okay, so make sure you pay attention and know how to write a speech, a proper speech. So you can't write something that you don't know, hence we have to define what a speech is. So a speech is an oral presentation where the presenter gives a formal message to the audience. So oral presentation, we're talking about spoken presentation here. When you see the president delivering a speech in parliament, or just an MP delivering a speech on a special occasion, so those are examples of speech. They are examples of speech, and I'm sure that you have seen this before. So that is a speech, the one we are learning about today. So the audience refers to the people listening to the speech. The presenter is that person who is giving the information to the people. The people are known as the audience. Okay, so now there are factors that you need to consider when writing this speech. You don't just wake up and start writing, but there are things that you have to consider when writing a speech. And remember, you can write a speech on behalf of someone. It's not always that you'll be writing your own speech, but for example, if you are an English teacher, you can write a speech for your head teacher. So these are the things that we consider when writing a speech. Number 1, topic. So when we talk about topic, we're talking about what are you writing about? What will you be talking about in your speech? Is it early marriages? Is it prostitution? What are you talking about? That is the topic. You can't just start writing speech. No, you have to know what you are writing about so that you can collect important points. So the topic is very much important. Okay, so number 2, we have the audience. You consider the kind of people to whom you'll be delivering your speech. For example, the way you can address lawyers is not the way you can address footballers or doctors or nurses. It will differ. So you have to consider the audience that you will be addressing on that particular occasion. Then 3, you consider the purpose of the speech. As you are writing your speech, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this speech that I'm writing? Is it to entertain people? Is it to educate people? Because you can crack a joke in your speech. Meanwhile, your speech will be delivered at a funeral. People will not laugh. So you have to consider the purpose of your speech. Is it to educate or is it to entertain? Number 4, you consider the occasion. What will be happening on that particular day? Will there be a funeral or a wedding ceremony? Or chilangamolido? You can deliver a speech that is meant for a funeral at a wedding ceremony, and that will be awkward and weird. So you have to consider the occasion. What will be taking place? Okay, it's a celebration, so I have to include things like this and this. Oh no, it's a funeral, so my speech should be in this way. The occasion is very, very much important. Then lastly, you consider the logical order. Logical order. So when you talk about logical order, we have prominent things, or let me say we have most prominent things, that is most important things, and less important things. So you have to follow logical order here. It's either you start with most prominent and end with least prominent, or you start with least prominent and end with most prominent. Now let us talk about the types of speech. There are 3 types of speech that we have. Have 1, the introductory speech. So the introductory speech, this is the speech given to introduce the guest of honor. the guest of honor, the most important person who is at that particular occasion. That is the guest of honor. For example, in parliament, they may have the guest of honor as the president. When you have an event in your constituency, you may have an MP as your guest of honor. So, before that person comes to deliver the main speech, there should be someone to introduce him or her. Or this time, we are now going to have Mr. Chan 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 to deliver a speech on this and this. Even in churches, these things happen. The pastor will not just go there to preach, but someone will introduce the pastor and they'll go there. So that is an introductory speech. Then we have the main speech. So the main speech, the type of speech that is delivered by the guest of honor now. This is where we have the main meat, the main body. This is the main speech. Then at the end, we give the speech or the vote of thanks. The same organizer or the chairman will now go and thank the guest of honor for the knowledge and ideas shared. Thank you very much for your speech. We look forward to implementing these ideas that you have given us. So that is a vote of thanks. So we have introductory speech meant to introduce the guest of honor who delivers the main speech. Then we have the main speech which is delivered by the guest of honor. Then after the guest of honor delivers the main speech, the chairman delivers what we call the speech or the vote of thanks, just to appreciate the guest of honor for the knowledge and ideas shared in the main speech. 3 types of speech. This is not the format of a speech, please. Simply because we have introduction and main, some people tend to confuse these things and say introduction, main body, and the like. But this is just a series of these 3 types of speech. Introductory speech comes first, then the main speech, then speech of thanks. If you're a JW, a Jehovah's Witness, you agree to this structure. Now, let us talk about the format of a speech. How do you write a speech? We have talked about things that you need to consider when writing a speech. We have talked about the 3 types of speech. Now, how do you write this same speech? So this format that I'm giving you here is the format of the main speech. The main speech. So, as usual, you start with the title. Now, for a speech, title carries about 5 marks. There should be 5 things that must be included in your title for it to be valid. 5 things. 1. You must include the presenter's name in your title. 2. Put the occasion. What will be happening? Is it a ceremony or it's a funeral? I've talked about this. So you have to put the occasion. Thirdly, you have to put the venue. Where will this occasion take place from? So you have to include the venue. The date. When. You have to put the actual date. And lastly, you have to put the time. The exact time at which this speech will be delivered. 5 things. We can use a memory aid to master these 5 things which must be included in the title. Use POVDT. So as for me, I read it as POVDT. POVDT. And this one is very easy to remember because just remember COVID. Just remember COVID and you remember the POVDT and put the time. So this is presenter's name, occasion, venue, date, and time. POVDT. Why should you suffer? So it reads as speech to be delivered by Mr. Gilbert Chiwale during an awards giving ceremony at Knowledge Road Academy on 24th March 2023, time 14 hours. So make sure you include these things before you even start writing the points. You have already gotten the 5 marks just by putting these things in the title. Great. Secondly, you write the introduction. So speech is very simple. Why? It's a guided composition. It's a guided composition. Why? things to write are already prescribed. They've already taught you what to write. So in the introduction, you simply write about two things. One, salutation. So how do we write the salutation? In the salutation, you recognize the audience. You recognize the audience in their order of hierarchy. Order of hierarchy. If you have the head teacher, the HODs, those are the head of departments, then the class teachers and the pupils. You have to start with the head teacher. Then maybe if the deputy is there, you put the deputy, the HODs, the class teachers, and then you end with the pupils. That is how you recognize them according to the order of hierarchy. For example, you are in parliament. You start by recognizing the members of parliament. Meanwhile, the president is there. What's that? So you have to start with the president. Follow the order of hierarchy. Then from there, you thank the organizer for giving you such an opportunity, a precious opportunity to address the audience. So only two things to be written in the introduction. Simply recognize the audience according to their order of hierarchy. And secondly, thank the organizer for giving you such a precious opportunity to address the audience. Great. Then in the many body, you explain the points precisely. What do I mean precisely? The points must be short and straightforward. Yeah. So for a speech, we write short paragraphs. Don't write essays in a speech. 3 to 4 lines, you end a paragraph. That is how you write a speech. Not 10 lines, one paragraph. A speech is not written like that. You explain the points precisely. Do not give unnecessary examples and explanations here. You are wasting the audience's time. Do not give unnecessary explanation. Simply go straight to the point. What are you talking about? If you are making a request, maybe you have been visited by an MP, a member of parliament in your constituency, and you have been given an opportunity to request some things for the school. And your school has no desks. So you want to request for desks from the member of parliament. And then you start explaining. Honorable member, here students sit 3 on a desk. Here students do... No, those are unnecessary things. Simply say we are in short of desks. Hence we need desks. Just go straight to the point. Why are you explaining that students sit 3 on a desk? Then what's that? So you have to hit the nail on its head here. The conclusion. So in the conclusion, you're supposed to end with a statement that restates the purpose of the speech. End with a statement that restates the purpose of the speech. If you were talking about early marriages, end with a statement that restates the purpose of your speech, which was talking about early marriages. The other thing that you do in the conclusion is to thank the audience. How do you thank the audience? Follow the order of salutation. Again, you are going to recognize them according to the order of hierarchy. Here, you are not greeting them. Simply appreciate them for paying attention to your speech. Though some of them were making noise, but just appreciate them for paying attention to your speech. And you're done with this speech. So, in the exam, you're going to be given points, but the points will not be in order. The points will not be in order. So once you write the title, and let me emphasize on this. These things that I talked about, which must be included in the title, the POV-DT, presenter's name, occasion, venue, date, and time, will not be given in the question. Sometimes they may give you, but sometimes they may not give you. Don't say, since they have not given me date and time, then I do not have to put. You have to put those things in your title. Come up with a date. How many dates do we have in the world? There are a lot. So firstly, you look at the points, you understand them, understand the purpose of the speech, and then put the points in logical order. How? This is the exam. So you'll be saying, okay, this point must be on number 1. You mark it like that. This point must be on number 2. Mark it like that. Then you start writing your speech. As you be writing, you just be connecting these points and add few words just to spice it up. Do not add unnecessary explanations. Just connect the points and add few words to spice your what? Your composition. That is how we write a speech. Very simple and straightforward. Points will be given. You don't have to think of points, no. Points will be given. Your only job here is to put the points in order, connect them, and add few words so that you spice it up and impress the examiner so that they can give you 20 out of 20. Simple as that. Now, language and style. So a speech is written in present tense. It is written in present tense and in small paragraphs. I emphasize small paragraphs. Don't write essays, please. Then, in order to attract the attention or the concentration from the audience, repeat the forms of address such as sir if you are addressing the guest of honor, or madam, or ladies and gentlemen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. These things are allowed in your speech. These things are allowed in your speech. Spice it up. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, so that the examiner will notice this person knows what he or she is doing. Then we use the first person pronoun. Even if you're writing a speech on behalf of someone, you have to use the first person pronoun. I am saying, I am doing this. That is the language and style of a speech. And please be polite here. You have to use formal language, formal English. Great. So speech is very simple. Just try to look for a question from any past paper which has speech question and try to answer it. You'll find the points there. Just put the points in order and try to write a speech. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.